have a lot of fun things to share with you this week, including recipes, flower gardening, and preparing for Thanksgiving I'm hosting this year. We are still pulling a ton of zucchinis out of the garden, and one of the easiest ways to fix this that kids like is to just saute them in butter or bacon grease, salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, and then I like to toast up some Italian breadcrumbs with butter and plate these with those breadcrumbs on top, and that just makes a very savory dish that even my kids love to enjoy zucchini. So if you are looking for another way to prepare zucchini, this is a really simple one, and even my 5-year-old loves it. Another thing that we have plenty of this time of year is peppers. I grew jalapeno peppers, Anaheim peppers, poblano peppers, and bell peppers. So I am going to be making a pumpkin chili. I'm going to use one small, if I can find a small one, jalapeno pepper and one poblano pepper and 2 green bell peppers and 1 red bell pepper. So lots of peppers in here, a large onion, chili powder, cumin powder, a little bit of cinnamon, pumpkin puree, some beans, tomatoes, salt, pepper, and this comes together in a delicious recipe that I, of course, will link in the description below. It is on farmhouseharvest.net with the exact ingredients and instructions. But if you're looking for a fall meal or want to sneak some extra veggies into a dish that kids really love, pumpkin chili is definitely a great recipe. And it's super simple to make. So first you just brown up your hamburger, then you drain that off if you've got a lot of grease, toss in your minced garlic, your chopped onion, saute those for a few minutes, then you add your pumpkin and all your different types of peppers. So I've got the poblano and the bell peppers in there, and then I'll just add the jalapenos, and then after those saute for a few minutes, you're going to add a couple cans of crushed tomatoes. I'm using the ones that we canned here on the channel last week or the week before. And then you add your beans, your pumpkin puree, give that a stir, and then add your seasonings. And then you just let this simmer in. I'm using a Dutch oven, so I'll just cover this and let this simmer on low. But really, this chili can be made in as little as 30 minutes. So super fast if you're in a hurry. And you can also just put it on low on the back of your stove and let it simmer for hours. So it's very versatile, super easy, and a very warm and cozy dinner for fall evenings. So one of the ingredients in this recipe I didn't mention was sweet potato. So you've got the pumpkin puree there, and then the sweet potatoes, tons of peppers, onions. So it's loaded with vegetables, and then of course top it with cheese, cilantro, a little bit of avocado, and this is one chili that your kids will really enjoy. Tonight I am going to serve this chili with some of what my husband calls killer rolls. I call them quick rolls because they're made with yeast instead of sourdough, but they really are pretty fast to make. And so I'm going to share that recipe with you too. I actually have the roll recipe memorized. My mother-in-law taught this to me like 20 years ago, and so it's super easy, and it's just 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 a cup of soft or melted butter, 1/4 a cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 3 teaspoons or 1 tablespoon of instant yeast, 1 egg, half a cup of warm water, and half a cup of warm milk. And I'm old fashioned. I just mix my yeast with my warm water and a little bit of sugar and let that activate, even though it's active yeast. I just activate that first before I put it into my flour mixture. But in another bowl, I mix together all my dry ingredients and whisk it so it's well combined. And then I make a little hole in the middle, or I call it like a nest, and then I put all my wet ingredients into the middle. So my egg, my warm milk, I'm using melted butter instead of softened butter today, and then my warm water with yeast mixture. And then I am just going to give that a little stir and work this into a dough. I've actually always done this with just my hands, but today I'm just whisking those ingredients in there. But usually I'll just put my fingers in there and start getting my hands dirty and stir it all together until I get the flour incorporated, and then knead it a little bit into a soft dough ball. But this is a very simple recipe. If you're looking for a fast bread and you don't have time to do a sourdough, these killer rolls, as my husband calls them, they come together really quick. So since the yeast is instant, you just get this worked into a dough. And then once you knead it into a nice soft dough ball where it feels super soft, kind of like the softness of baby skin, once you get it to that, which it only takes a few minutes to get it to that consistency, then you just put it in your bowl. I'm going to drizzle it with a little of my leftover melted butter in my cup here. And then I'm going to cover it with my clean towel, and you just let it rise for 45 minutes in a warm spot. And it will double in size within that amount of time. So much faster than sourdough, but it doesn't come with all the health benefits. However, it is very delicious. All right, after your dough has been sitting there, and I put it always on my warm oven, see it has doubled or tripled in size. So I'm not even going to knead it again. I'm just going to take it right now, and I have buttered my pan here. So a baking dish, you want to cover that or butter that really good or grease it really good. And then this is how my grandma taught me to make rolls. You just shove the dough up between your first finger and your thumb until it forms a nice ball. They're usually about the same size when you do it this way. And you squeeze it up, and then you squeeze the dough off by pinching your finger and your thumb together. And that just forms a really nice little dough ball where it's nice and tensioned and tight on the outside. And then what you're going to do is once you get all your dough in there, I'm actually going to melt a little bit more butter and use a pastry brush to brush butter over the tops of these. So this is a couple tablespoons of butter that I've melted, and I am just brushing that over the tops of these. And then I'm going to cover this again. Actually, I'm not going to cover it this time. I usually do cover it, but this time I didn't. I am going to set this back on the stove in a warm spot and let these rise for only 20 to 30 minutes more, and then they'll be ready to put into the oven. So at this point, I'm preheating my oven to 350 degrees. Set your rolls on back where it's warm, and then they're ready to go in about 20 minutes. And these cook up in 20 minutes also. So rise for about 20 more minutes in a warm spot, and then they cook in about 20 minutes, and they're golden brown on top. I am again going to brush the tops of these with butter. So they have a lot of butter in them. That's probably what makes them so killer. So there's 1/4 cup of butter in the dough, a couple tablespoons melted on top while they're rising, and then a couple tablespoons brushed over the top right after they come out of the oven and they're nice and hot. And I'll just show you what these look like coming out of the pan. These are super soft rolls. They have a great texture. They're Their flavor is definitely not as strong as a sourdough because it's just basically the flavor of the flour, the butter, a little bit egg, a little bit of milk, a little bit of sugar and salt. But they are delicious and they are quick and easy to make if you are in a time crunch. Of course, got to add a little bit more butter to serve. So they may as well be croissants, just made a lot easier. I'm going to take you out to the garden with me again. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about gardening. You know, gardens can be flower gardens or vegetable gardens. Mine is both. I am growing some very easy things this year that I highly recommend for anyone that would like just to have a really nice, very simple and easy to grow and maintain flower garden for cut flowers inside your house. The first one is zinnias. Those are super easy to grow. They're almost like a weed. They're so easy to grow and they get super big and tall and beautiful, and the blooms actually last quite a while inside the house. The second thing I'm growing here is lavender. I grew these between my hot peppers and my sweet peppers so that they didn't cross-pollinate. And lavender smells so great. It is a perennial plant, and honestly, next year I think I'm going to plant like 20 at least lavender plants. I'm just hoping once they make it through their first year, then they'll be able to keep living. But you know, the first year that they're planted, they might not make it through the winter, but hopefully these will make it. I'm going to really baby them. I think I paid about $5 each for these. I'm hoping to find a better deal when I'm buying bulk plants online. We'll see what I can find. But these, I believe, are lavender angustifolia, and they smell so good. I really want to make a lavender wreath before fall is over to preserve these beautiful flowers. Okay, the next flower I highly recommend growing are snapdragons. They are so easy to grow. In fact, they're kind of like an invasive weed. They spread their seeds so easily. They blow in the wind, and I have a neighbor who has them growing wild all over her yard because once you have them, you will have seeds all over your garden. And I'm really looking forward to that because these are very beautiful, delicate flowers, and they are great in a bouquet, and they look beautiful in the garden. As you can see, they come in all different colors, and they just hang really elegantly in a flower vase. The zinnias are like strong and straight up, and the snapdragons are very relaxed, and they kind of fall over a little bit. So a lot of different shapes and beauty to your bouquets. But they're super easy to grow. They just need a spot and some water. If you've got some sunshine and water, your snapdragon seeds will go nuts. Snapdragons are kind of like a smaller gladiola, so they bloom up the stalk. So they just keep growing and blooming up the stalk for quite a while. So you can just peel off all the old blooms on the lower part of the stalk before you put them into your vase, and that just kind of cleans off the extra foliage and makes a very beautiful feminine flower bouquet. I'm super excited to be hosting my family for Thanksgiving this year, so I have been collecting these beautiful blue plates. These are the Liberty Blue Plate by Independence Hall. They are made in England. They are ironstone, and I believe I got these ones for $8. So every time I go to a thrift store or an antique store, I kind of keep my eyes out for these, and I have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them so far. So probably just for the adults during Thanksgiving, but very fun to collect. Also, the vintage bunkhouse where I got these ones in downtown Fruitland, they have this gorgeous vintage inspired tissue paper, and I am going to save that for Christmas because it is beautiful. That's just one thing I really enjoy doing, is getting ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I have already started that this year. Okay, on to another favorite fall recipe. This is a apple Waldorf apple salad. I just call it apple salad. It is celery, walnuts, mini marshmallows, and then I use Granny Smith apples, and I will use a Pink Lady, but today I'm using Honeycrisp, and I really love the combination of the Honeycrisp and the Granny Smith. So very sweet and tart. This salad is crisp, sweet, and tart, just like fall. I love the crunchiness of the nuts with the apples and then the sweet little marshmallows. And the dressing is super simple to make. So I just chop everything up so it's nice and small. You can chop the apples however you like. I've had this salad made where the apples are chopped into slices instead of cubes or chunks. I like to do it so it's easier to fit in your mouth. But the salad dressing is just about 1/3 cup of mayo, and then about 1/4 cup of sugar, and about 4 tablespoons of lemon juice. That's it. You just whisk it together until it's nice and smooth, and then toss all these ingredients together in your salad bowl. Honestly, this recipe is super forgiving. I am linking the recipe in the description below, but as far as measurements go, you can just put more or less of what you like. So if you really don't like nuts in there, you don't even have to include them. A lot of people like this salad with red grapes instead of the mini marshmallows. My mom made this recipe with mini marshmallows when I was growing up, and so I really just love it that way, and my daughters really like it the same way. So this is one of our easiest fall favorite salads, and if you haven't tried it yet and you like apples and walnuts, you're gonna love this recipe. My favorite time of day is sunset and evening. I just love taking a walk, breathing deep, and enjoying the sunset. As always, thank you so much for watching my video. I hope it inspires you. If you haven't subscribed yet,